The first step towards creating a fantastic dashboard is to identify relevant KPIs or questions you want to answer. But before you do that, you need to go through your data so as to get familiar with them. In this stage, it will be handy for you to scroll through your data and just get to know one or two things about that. Most especially, understand each columns that are available. After that has been done, then you need to generate some set of questions. These questions might be given to you by your supervisor, your boss, or someone you report to. But in a situation whereby these questions are not given, then you need to sit down, observe the data that you have, and then extract relevant questions you want to answer. I hope you understand. The importance of this question is the fact that it will serve as a guide while creating your dashboard. So the first thing we have here is the name of the company, followed by some set of questions such as what is the total revenue, what is the total quantity produced, and so on and so forth. So I would advise that you go through this set of questions so as to get familiar with them. Then the next step is to develop a structure or layout for your dashboard. In this stage, it is advisable for you to go online as a beginner so you get to see what others have done before. A simple Google search where you input dashboard design in Microsoft Excel, you get to see different dashboard that has been created by different analysts. Get inspired by the work of others and then pick one or two visualization graph, chart, and the likes. Evaluate if it will work for the kind of data that you have so that you can pick one or two visualization strategy. After this has been done, then you need a piece of paper and a pen where you can roughly sketch the layout of your dashboard. In this stage, you are to take note of the dimension and every visual element that will be placed on your dashboard. I hope you understand. In the third step is the part where you begin to create pivot table that will help answer each individual question that we have here. For example, the second question which says what is the total revenue? All I need to do is to create a new sheet where I will call it pivot tables. Then I select my data, go to the insert tab and then create a pivot table. I will select existing worksheet and then I'll click on this very particular button, go back to my pivot table sheet and then click somewhere around this very particular point, maximize and then click OK. You realize that a pivot table has been created. Now remember that every pivot table we are creating in this stage is a reflection of answering the questions that we have displayed here. And since the question says what is the total revenue, so the only thing we need to drag in this situation is the revenue parameter. So I will drag it into the values field and this has been calculated. If I want to format the numbering, I can either come to this very particular point or I will right click and then click format cell. Then I will select number, get rid of decimals and then use a separator and click OK. This is it, I'm good to go. The next thing is to change the coloring of the heading. So I will select the cell, come back to this point and then select this and make the text white, and that's it, I'm good to go. So this very particular question has been answered. The next one says what is the total quantity produced? So to make it easier, I will just select this pivot table, copy it from here, then come down a bit and then paste it. In this situation, what I need to do is to remove the revenue variable I imputed earlier, and then I will drag in quantity, which is this one. And this is exactly what I have, 10,899. I will double click on this to fit, and I'm good to go. The next question says, what is the average price? So I will copy this same one again from here, then I'll come down a bit, paste it here, and this time around, as you have guessed, I will remove that of quantity and then bring in that of price, which is something like this. But if you observe carefully, you realize that what it actually calculated is the sum of price, and that's not what I want. So I will click this arrow, then I will go to value fields and then I will select average, click OK, and this is exactly what we have. So you can see that so far we've answered 3 questions. The next says how many transactions were made. So I'll go back to my pivot table, I'll still copy this and then paste it just a little bit downwards. Then I will remove this very particular one, I'll scroll up to transaction ID and then bring it down here. So if you see, the count of transaction ID is 1000, which means the total transactions that were made are 1000. I hope you understand. So far, so good. We've answered this set of questions. But before we move forward, I would like to create a demarcation. So I will select this, then I will come and create a right border by the side here so that it will show that this forms a group. I hope you understand. Then the next question says, how much revenue was generated across product categories? So I will repeat the same process by copying this pivot table and then paste it in the second set of group that I will display here. So I will get rid of transaction ID and then drag in revenue. What I'm doing is to answer the questions that were asked earlier. So I will drag in revenue in the value fields, then I will drag in product category in the row fields. And this is exactly what I have. You could see that this is the value for accessories, home appliances, laptops, and then smartphone. That has answered the question that were asked earlier. So I would click here and then create a formatting for this and then repeat the same process here and I'm good to go. So the next question says display the regional distribution of revenue. So what I need to do is to copy this pivot table from here, then I'll paste it under this very particular section. I'll allow revenue to remain the way it was because I'm interested in revenue in this situation. Then I'll drag in region into the row fields and this is exactly what I have. So I will just need to apply some formatting just like I did earlier and I'm good to go as far as this question is concerned. So the next question says, what is the nature of sales across agent? So I will repeat the same process again. I will copy this from here, then I'll come down a little bit and then paste it here. I will remove that of transaction ID and then I'll bring in revenue, then align it with agents, which are otherwise called the salespersons. And this is exactly what we have. So you could see that this question has been answered. But before I move forward, I would like to create a formatting. So I will just click the paint bucket tool and then apply the formatting to it. And this is exactly what I have. I'm done with the second group. So I'll select this and create a demarcation for it. Then I move to the next group. So the next question says, what is the top performing product? This is very simple. What I need to do is to copy the pivot table that I have earlier. The reason why I make reference to the first set is because this pivot table are short, but irrespective of the one you copied, we are good to go. So the revenue is there, which is what I'm interested in, and then I'll align it with product. So I'll just drag in the product name and this is exactly what I have. You could see the list of products as they appear. After this has been created, I will make sure I select one of the value fields. Do not select where texts are displayed. Make sure you select one of the places that has values. You right click on it, you go to sort and then sort from largest to smallest, and this is exactly what I have. So you could see that HP Spectacle is the highest as far as revenue is concerned, which is the best product, followed by this and then finally this one. Before I move forward, I will have to format the heading, which is exactly what I have done earlier. I hope you understand. Then the next question I have on the list is to show the quantity produced by product. So the interest now is to copy this pivot table. For example, I will come down a little bit to this very particular point. Then I will remove that of revenue and then replace it with quantity sold. And this is exactly what I have. So you could see the respective quantity and then the product they were aligned to. The first two products that made it to the list in this stage are the same two products we have here, but the third one differ from this pivot table and this one. I hope you understand. So the next question I want to answer is display a trend graph to visualize the objective above. Now, this question and the one before it are interrelated. Therefore, this pivot table can help answer these two questions because one of it is a display of numbers and the second one is a display of graph. I hope you understand. So the next question says, what are the total quantities sold by each agent? So to answer this question, I'll first of all create a demarcation, then I'll move to a different group, and then I'll copy one of the pivot tables I have created earlier, and then I'll paste it here. So what I'm interested in this situation is quantity in relation to sales persons. So I will drag in quantity into this field, remove that of product category, and then replace it with salesperson. So you can see the respective quantity that were sold by each salesperson. The only thing I need to do is to create a formatting similar to what I have done before, and that question has been answered. Then the next one said, what is our best performing product? Now, to answer this question, I can reflect back on the previous pivot table I have created. You could see that the best performing product in this situation is the HP Spectacle because it has the highest revenue. So in this situation, I don't need to create another pivot table again because I will end up duplicating and creating the same thing. I hope you understand. So I will use this pivot table to answer that very particular question because it's clearly visible. After that is to display the performance of revenue over time. Now, to answer this question, I can still use the same pivot table I created earlier, which is this. But in this situation, I would like to create it again because the pattern or the dimension at which I'll be using this pivot table while visualizing and answering that question is quite different from the strategy I used earlier. I hope you understand. You get to see it as we move along. So what I will do next is to copy this pivot table from here. Then I'll come back here, create a new group, and then paste it somewhere around this very particular point. Now, this is exactly what I have. I'll have to create a percentage count, which is something different from what I have done before. After that, I'll also create percentage left in order to help me visualize the revenue over time. Don't worry, when we begin to display our dashboard, you get to see the practical applications of it as we move forward. I hope you understand. Then after that, the next thing is to filter our dashboard by month and product categories. So what I need to do at this point in time is to select one of the pivot table and then go to pivot table analyze, then click on insert slicer. Then I will select month and then I'll also select product category again because if you realize the question says filter the dashboard by product category and then by month. I'll click OK and then I have two slicers. I'll move this slicer to the side here, then move the second one beside it just like this. As we move forward, I will get to format this slicer and they will look very, very beautiful. So far, we've answered 15 questions. Then the final one says, present an insight from your data. This will be the last thing we will do after creating our dashboard. So rest assured that we've answered all the questions that were presented here by creating all these pivot tables. Now, the next thing we need to do is to begin to create our visuals, our chart, and then begin to arrange them on our dashboard. I hope you understand. To display our dashboard, we can choose to create a new worksheet and then name it dashboard, or alternatively, we could otherwise come to this spreadsheet and then place our dashboard here. Irrespective, it's all good. Now, the first thing you need to do is to create a background for your dashboard. Before you do that, you need to know your screen size. So if you just minimize to your desktop, right click and then go to display settings, you could scroll to the dimension of your screen and get to see what is the dimension of your screen. This will help you determine the size of the background you are to use. Now, the essence for this is basically to work with the end in mind, because when you display your dashboard, you should be able to see it in full screen without much distraction. I hope you understand. So the first thing we need to do is to get rid of all these elements. I'll go to the view type here, then I'll uncheck headings, uncheck grid lines, and then uncheck formula bar. After that, I will navigate to my status bar and then right click, go to task bar setting, then scroll down and then look for where I can auto hide the task bar. In your own PC, navigate to where this very particular button is and then check on it, and as you can see, the task bar has been hidden. So I will cancel this, and this is exactly what I have. The next thing for me to do is to press and hold Ctrl and Shift and then F1 on my keyboard, and this is exactly what I have. So I'll be working with this because this is the final display of my dashboard. So to create my background shape, I'll go to Insert, Illustration, then come down and click on Rounded Rectangle. Then I will drag it from this edge down to the other one exactly at this very particular point. Then I will adjust the roundness by dragging this yellow button somewhere around this level, I can bring it down a little bit, just play around with the weight and the height so that at the end of the day, you have a dimension that will fit on your screen, something similar to this. I hope you understand. I will right click on the shape and go to format shape. Then I'll get rid of the outline, which is this. As far as the fill color is concerned, I'll either select one of the color that are available here, or I'll scroll down and click more colors. Then I'll specify the hex code that I want. In this situation, I will type in this hex code that says E2, E2, and then EC, something like this, and then I will click OK. So you can see that this has given me a grayish color, and this will form my background. I hope you understand. If I scroll down a bit, this is exactly what I have, and if I scroll up, you can see that the background has fit on my screen. If I want to bring down the roundness a little bit, I can actually adjust this a bit, and this is exactly what I have. Now, this is just my background, so I will need to go to my shape icon again and create another shape which looks similar to the one I just created. I'll start from somewhere around this level, then I'll bring it down to this very particular point. I'll reduce the roundness to this level somewhere around here. Then I can scale it down by reducing the size a little bit, because this will not be the base of where my visuals will be displayed. I will repeat the same thing by going to format shape. Then I will get rid of the outline and then make sure I set the fill color to a particular color that I want, or I will specify a hex code similar to the one I'm about to input. I hope you understand, which is F4, F5, and then FA. So I will then click OK, and this is exactly what I have. So if I just cancel this very particular one and scroll down a bit, you can get to see the differences in color from the background I created, which is this, and the one at the top, which is this very particular one. I hope you understand. Now, after this has been done, I will need to add shadow to it. So I'll come back to the shadow section and I'll click on it. Among the preset available, I'll click on this one, which is somewhat to the middle. I will increase the percentage to 90 and make sure black color is selected. I will leave the size at 100%, increase the blurriness to 5, and then reduce the angle to 0 and decrease the distance to 0 as well. And this is exactly what I have. Now, you can choose to play around with your own settings just to see exactly what it gives you. But the end point is that I now have the end result of how my dashboard will be displayed. So the next thing for me is to begin to display the visuals that I have created using the pivot table as specified in the previous section. I hope you understand. So first things first, I will need to display the name of the company. I have a picture that depicts that in my PC, so I will just go to picture, then I'll say place over cell, and I will extract the picture from my device. I'll go to the location where this project is saved, then I'll just select the image, which is this one, and then I'll click insert. You could see that the image has been imported and it is quite big. I'll move it to the position where I want, which is somewhere around here. I will need to scale it down a little bit so it will be positioned somewhere around this level. Then I'll go to shape and create an outline for it. So I will select this same shape, drag it down a little bit somewhere around here, then reduce the roundness a bit, and then position it somewhere around here. Then I will scale it down as well so it could fit into the dimension of the shape I have created earlier. I will right click and go to format shape and then get rid of the fill color. And in terms of the outline, I will change it to a greenish color, which is something around this level. And this is exactly what I have. I will select the shape, then zoom in a little bit, and then use the selection pane in order to select the rounded rectangle. Then I will right click on both of them and then group them together, and this is exactly what I have. Then I will zoom back to 100%, which is exactly where I started. While you are displaying visuals on your dashboard, always take note of the level of percentage you are working with. I hope you understand. So as far as this is concerned, we are done. Then the next thing I need to do is to create a text box that I will need to specify the name of the company. And the name is BZ Electronics, which is this. So I will specify the formatting just a little bit, or I can choose to go with this one by default. Then I will right click on it, go to format shape, get rid of the fill color, and then also get rid of the outline color. And this is exactly what I have. Then I can move the shape and place it somewhere around here. As far as the text color is concerned, I will right click on it and select all, then go to text color and then make it white, and this is exactly what I have. I will select this shape, activate the selection pane, and then select this text box once more, and then group them together by right clicking and selecting group, and this is exactly what I have. So you can see that we started making progress. Okay, the next step is to begin displaying each question I have answered in my pivot table and then showcase their visuals on my dashboard. So to move forward, I'll create a rounded rectangle, which is this. I will drag it down a little bit and set the dimension to 1.25 by 2.5, then hit enter, and this is exactly what I ended up with. I will reduce the roundness a little bit to this point, then I will select this shape, go to alignment and then align it to the top, and I have something that looks like this. So I will reposition it to somewhere around this level, and this is exactly what I have. I will get rid of the outline color by clicking on this, and then I will make the fill color pure white, and this is exactly what I have, and then add a shadow to it. I will repeat the same thing I did earlier by increasing this to 90%, leave this to 100, increase the blurriness to 5, and then reduce the angle to 0 and the distance to 0 point as well, and this is exactly what I ended up with. I will duplicate this same shape by pressing Ctrl D on my keyboard, then I'll extend it to this point somewhere around this level and then drag it out so it could fit up to this level. I will reposition the shape so it can create an equal spacing. I will select this as well, then I will distribute them equally, and this is exactly what I have. So you can see that we are actually making progress. So all the information I have in this group is exactly what I will display here. The first thing I need to do is to create a text box by clicking on this and then dragging it this way. Then I will get rid of the fill color for the text box and also get rid of the outline color, and this is exactly what I have. I will need to bring back my formula bar by clicking on this, so it will help me specify which cell I want to reference to. I'll move to the formula bar, type equal sign, go to pivot table and select the value for sum of revenue, then I will hit enter. You will realize that it returned an error message. So what I need to do is to get rid of everything before the name of the spreadsheet and then delete the parentheses after that. You can see that I have sum of revenue displayed in white, but that's not what I want. So I will just change this to 4 and then hit enter. You can now see the main values which I want has now been captured. I hope you understand. The next thing for me to do is to move it to the position where I want it to be displayed, somewhere around here, and then apply some formatting to it. I hope you understand. Select this text box, then change the font style to Arial and the font size to 12, which is this, and this is exactly what I have. So I will scale it up a little bit. Then among the colors I have available here, I will select this very particular one and I'll also make it bold. But before I move forward, I will right click on the cell itself, which is this. Then I will convert the format of the cell to currency because I need it to have the dollar sign. I will click OK so that when I go back, the dollar sign has been applied to it. And this is exactly what I have. I will duplicate this same shape and then I will change the content of it to something different. And what I need to input at this point is revenue because that is the text I want. So I will type in revenue, which is this. I will now drag it up above somewhere around this level. Then I will change the color from this color to black so that it could create a contrast. Then I will reduce the size to 11. I also like to reduce the size of this one as well from 12 to 11, or let's go with 10 per se. I will reposition it for a while, and this is exactly what I have. Then I will draw some lines to create demarcation between them, and this is exactly what I have. The next thing for me to do is to select this value and select the text above it and then duplicate them so that I can bring it down to this point. Then I will change their values. I'll start by this by changing it to quantity, which is this. Then I will reduce the size of it and also remove the boldness. This is exactly what I have. I will repeat the same thing for this by reducing the size of it and removing the boldness. Then I'll also need to change the referencing. I will leave the equal sign, go to pivot table and select this cell because that is what makes my total quantity. Then I will get rid of everything before this and then also get rid of this. Then I would change this 7 to 8. That's because this is cell B8, not B7. I hope you understand. So I'll hit enter on my keyboard and this is exactly what I have. Now, if I want to copy the referencing for here, I'll make sure I select this text box, then go to the paint bucket tool. Then I'll go back and select this shape so that it will apply the same formatting with this one. I will need to reposition these quantity values and I'll have something that looks like this. But before I move forward, I will get rid of the boldness and this is exactly what I have. So quantity has been captured. Now I'll copy that of quantity and then duplicate it by moving it rightward to this very particular level. I will change this to average price, which is this, and also change the referencing by getting rid of the previous one and then select a new reference. I will repeat the same thing by removing every other thing before the name of the spreadsheet and remove this one, then change this to 12 and hit enter. This is exactly what I have. I will select this, select the format painter tool and then click on this so it could apply the same formatting for the values. I will copy this same text box just like I did earlier and then I'll duplicate them and I'll move this to the side here. Now I will repeat the same thing by specifying the total transaction. So I will come back here. I will now call this total transaction, which is this in abbreviation. Then I will select this, get rid of the previous referencing that has been done, then specify the new one. I will remove all this in order to avoid errors. Remove this and then change this to 16, then hit enter. This is exactly what I have. So what I need to do next is to select this shape, go to the format painter tool and then apply the formatting to this one so they could all be the same. Now the last thing I will need to do as far as this group is concerned is to make sure the alignment is perfect. So I will align them to the bottom and then I will distribute them equally, something like this. So I will repeat the same thing for the text boxes that captures the text itself. I will align them to the top this time around and I will also distribute them horizontally and this is exactly what I have. I will select each of these texts, then I will make it lighter than the other ones. So I will repeat the same thing here by clicking on this and then give it a lighter gray and do the same thing for this one as well. Now the essence of all this is just to make it look a bit presentable. I hope you understand so that all values will not be catchy and distracting to the eye. So this is exactly what we have.